All right, I think we're live. Yeah.
Happy Wednesday.
Hey, happy Wednesday.
We hope you all are doing well because we are definitely feeling the full moon and the Mercury retrograde and the Gemini season and all the things right now.
Yeah, if you've been wondering why things seem to be really wonky in your world, that's what's going on.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, well,
We're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight at our full moon gathering. So if you're interested, join us. We'll put the link in the event here or in the post. So if you want to join us tonight, you can. So we are going to change it up a little bit today. We have Mary Magdalene as our divine feminine goddess aspect that we are exploring this week. And as I'm sure some of you have noticed, there's been some weeks we've been not able to get on. And so we were talking today that we would really love to be able to foreshadow next week, since we're having another one of those weeks next week. And through our discussions over the last couple of months, we're really beginning to see the weaving, the unity of all of these divine feminine aspects and how they are one with one another and how they kind of support one another. And so that's the approach we're going to take, talking about both our goddess divine feminine aspects this week for this week's goddess and next week's. So we'll start with Mary Magdalene, and then we're going to bring in Sarada Devi, which will be our divine feminine aspect for next week. And we'll talk about them independently, and then we're going to talk about how they're weaved, how that thread is weaving all of these aspects together, just kind of using this as an opportunity for you to begin to really embrace this idea that we're working with here within this group, which is to own all of that, own all of these aspects of ourselves. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to my dear friend Paige.
No.
Because my Gemini self is all over it today.
Slow down. Mary Magdalene, a lot of you in our Facebook group, when we posted her message on Monday, we're all over it. Oh, she's my favorite. I love her. I work with her all the time. We did do a deeper dive into Magdalene a number of months ago.
I think last August, that was our first goddess.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And since then, like you're saying, Ramona, we have been experiencing these goddesses and their energies in such a way that if you look back and start connecting the dots, they are inextricably
connected,
whether we want to or not. They are our essence, our divine essence, really. And so in our Divine Feminine Oracle book, Mary Magdalene comes on strong at number 1. And I'm just going to read a little about the description of her for those of you who aren't super familiar with her. She is the apostle to the apostles, and Mary Magdalene embodies the capacity we all have to merge with the soul and receive divine guidance through a love that never ends. Mary was born in the 1st century in Magdala, Israel. She was the first to witness the resurrection, and for this reason is revered in Christianity as the apostle to the apostles. And she represents the fierce, unwavering love that we all have access to within our own vulnerable hearts. It's a love that renders all things sacred, from animals to the angels, from the poorest to the most powerful. It's a love that sees the inherent worth in all things. And it's a love that remains even through the darkest times, even through death. Her love is one that resurrects. Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about, I mean, seeing the divine, being the bridge between heaven and earth, being fully human and fully divine, and seeing that all creatures, great and small, everything is divine in our world. It's not so easy to do.
Especially in the midst of chaos, or, you know, our egos, decisions around the experience that we're having. Right? We have a very distinct egoist view that there's right and there's wrong, there's good, there's bad, there's high and there's low, right? And the divine heart says there is no good or bad, there is no right or wrong, there is no high or low. There is love. That is the true essence. So everything that you're doing, everything that's happening in your life is a choice and an experience to either raise your vibration or lower your vibration. And when you raise your vibration, you're closer to that space of remembering the truth. When your vibration is denser, you're further away. Your illusions, your Maya, your veils are thicker. So the more that you travel down this journey of self-exploration and self-realization and self-love and divine love, the thinner the veils become. And that's why we really felt like, wow, we really want to talk about this thread of these two divine feminine aspects, because then we come in with Sarada Devi. So I'm going to let you share a little bit about that, and then we're going to talk about how those two work together.
Okay. Sarada Devi is the divine mother. Unconditional love exists within me. The presence of love is the absence of judgment. And who she is, Sri Sarada Devi embodies the feminine power that initiates seekers onto a spiritual path through unconditional love. All right, let's see. She loved all her disciples unconditionally. She was a guru. And in her teaching, she emphasized that there is no such thing as a stranger. She encouraged her devotees to understand that everyone we meet is actually a part of us and is connected to us. And that if we want to experience true peace, we need to own the fault and judgment that we project onto others. We need to own that. We need to see our own faults and forgive them with love. So stop wasting our time mired in judgment of others or ourselves and get on with being the perfectly imperfect. That's what I describe myself as, light that we are. Right.
I remember when I was going to regular meditations at the Buddhist Center a few years back, and there was a discussion at one of the sessions that you are everyone's mother and you are everyone's child. So everyone you come in contact with, you are there's a reflection of that. And so when I started to really explore this concept with Sarada Devi, it brought me back to that remembrance that when I'm upset with someone, or I'm frustrated with someone, or I don't feel heard by someone, I can fall into my ego's way of reacting to that, which is not always positive. It's actually quite negative for me. Or I can step outside of that and go, okay, what if this is mine? And how can I love that person unconditionally and let their work be their work and mine be mine?
Mhm.
And so when I look at these two divine feminine aspects, I see the reminder that you are the spark, and then the opportunity to remember that everyone else is too.
Mhm. Easier said than done.
It is. It is. But part of the journey is remembering yourself and then calling upon that support to help you remember that with another, right? So my son is graduating from high school this weekend, and there's a big transition happening in our household, and that's really, really wonderful, and I'm very happy for him. But I'm also struggling with my own journey with this, as my life is changing. I no longer have a child, I have a man child.
Yeah, it's a huge transition for a mother. Yes.
And so we had a situation a few days ago where, and again, Mercury retrograde, full moon in Sagittarius, Gemini season. Hi. I mean, I'm just like, so the energy has been really like this inside of my being for about 5 days. And so I have to be really, really aware of what's going on in my life, that I'm like, okay, because I'm already stimulated and I'm a highly sensitive person already. So then you add this energy that's working through our world right now, and I'm like, okay. So I had to get off the phone with him because I was already kind of responding in a way that didn't feel good to me. And then I started to feel this fire that was coming up through my entire being. And I said, I have to get off the phone. And I hung the phone up so I could just pause for a minute and get with myself and go, okay, what are you reacting to?
Mm-hmm.
What are you reacting to? What are your needs that you need to express in a way that he can hear you? And not in this like screaming collie.
Right, because that never really works,
yeah.
especially with the teenage boy. It really doesn't.
Well, and unfortunately with my son, sometimes that's the only way that he can snap out of wherever he's at. Like I have to pull him, and that's where collie really comes in for me, is I can just be like, we're clearing out whatever it is that's standing in the way between you and I hearing one another.
Yeah.
But at this moment, that's not what was needed. And so I had to really pull back and go, okay, what is going on that I can see that's happening with him, and what is going on that I can see that is happening with me. And so then when I was able to step back for 5 minutes and get there, then I called him back and I expressed my need. And he heard me. So my son is on a spiritual journey just like I am. And his spark is so beautiful. He's such a loving, compassionate, caring young man. And I have to really remember sometimes that he's on his own journey. And so that was the conversation. I'm like, I understand that you're in this place that you're really excited to be in, and I'm really happy for you. But I'm also in a place that is kind of hard and a little bit unsettling. So I pulled in both of these aspects, remembering that I'm not just this human self having this human life. I'm actually a spiritual being, and I need to stop and I need to pause and I need to ask spirit to help me see with clarity what's going on so that I can be loving and compassionate and supportive of this young man who is having an amazing experience happen in his life. And I have to own my experience in that. And then I had to remember, as I said, he's on his journey, I'm on my journey. How can I honor his divine spark? How can I honor him?
Yeah. When our children are making those transitions, I mean, they're an extension of ourselves,
Mhm.
whether we like it or not.
Well, and interestingly enough, I was having this conversation with a client of mine who also has a child that is graduating. And I said, when we bear these children, there's an umbilical cord, right? And it's cut. But there's an energetic umbilical cord that we're still feeding them, we're still nurturing them, we're still caring for them, we're doing all that. And then, you come to this point where and this has happened over his whole lifetime. Like, there's come to a point, okay, we're going to cut that piece of the energetic umbilical cord, because now he needs to go to kindergarten and walk himself to a class, and mom can't take him every day. And then there was okay, he's going to middle school, okay, he's going to high school. So it's like every time you come to those big transitions, there's another piece of that energetic connection and energetic responsibility, I guess is the word I'm going to use there. It has to be let go. Otherwise, you end up in a mesh codependent relationship with this child whenever he's 40. And that's not what I want for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's been a really interesting observation, because I'm feeling kind of a little bit stuck creatively right now. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And so leaning into that analogy is really helping me realize, oh, it's because I'm doing some work here. I'm doing some releasing. I'm doing some healing that right now I don't have the bandwidth or the energetic space to create.
Well, yeah, and that you've got a full moon and an eclipse on top of it. Eclipses are just what they
Mm-hmm.
and things go.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's only natural that things are happening right now the way they are. Doesn't mean that we throw up our hands and say, I can't handle this,
Right.
But just recognizing that we're all kind of going through the same energies in different ways.
Yeah.
And just on a completely different viewpoint, I guess I've been somewhat obsessed with watching this photographer on YouTube do these videos of the homeless in Skid Row in Los Angeles and in other places in the States, but mostly there. And they're addicts, they're alcoholics, they're all, the parts of society that we don't like to acknowledge. And I've been following their stories. He is so lovely. He just sits there and they tell their stories. He says, tell me, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? What was your family like? And that hit me every time. They'll say, well, mom wasn't there, dad wasn't there. It was something about the family dynamic or that nurturing or something. They just, and just in there they just want to tell their stories. They don't want anything. And it really makes you think when you look at these people. I'm not just saying no, all homeless, but
anyone.
You recognize the divine in them and what they people see us and they see something completely different. I am a person. I had a family. I wasn't the great, or maybe I didn't. I had to fend for myself. And here I am trying to do the best I can, without any tools, whatever. And it just really pulled at my heart to look at people heart to heart with that unconditional love. And it's just been kind of a fascinating thing. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to them. It's just like, I'm fascinated in seeing this humanity from a completely different perspective. But we are perfectly imperfect. I love to say that about myself. Along with the only thing consistent about me is my inconsistency, because I have a hard time doing that. But that being said, we all are divine. We're divine beings. And
so honor your divinity. Honor your divinity and bring yourself to honor the divinity in others, even the others that have harmed you. I know that that feels really hard. And I'm telling you from somebody who has been there. It is not easy. And I don't know if I saw these people in person, how I would respond at this point in my life. I would hope that I would come with compassion. But when we can remember them as a spark of the divine, regardless of whatever harm was caused, we can forgive and we can move on and we can release ourselves from the torment and the pressure of that pain. Because truly, in all honesty, that was the biggest journey for me in letting go of this attachment to what these people did to me.
Oh yeah.
It was just acknowledging that my peace was more important than continuing to feel whatever I was feeling for that person.
Right. And that forgiveness is the key to freeing yourself from that connection, that bond, freeing both that person and yourself from that.
And it's a process, and some experiences are easier than others, but honor your divine spark, and we invite you to honor the divine spark in those you come in contact with.
Absolutely. Oh, it's wonderful, wonderful.
Yes, thank you so much for these chats, my dear Paige. I love them.
Me too.
We hope that you are finding this exploration that we have taken today of inspiration for you. And if you are interested in participating in any of our events, please check them out. And we hope to see you very soon. We will be offline next week for our Goddess Chat. We'll be back together the following week. And until then, have a beautiful Wednesday. Goddesses? Yes, Goddess?